Okay, so hi everybody, and good evening. Welcome to this chat with Paul Warren, and we're going to look at we're going to talk about gaining an income and literally starting with nothing, and then building that into something. And the reason I brought Paul on, we kind of got chatting about after I think it was a mutual interest in crypto, wasn't it, Paul? And then it's kind of moved on from there. And Paul announced to me a few weeks ago that he was doing a challenge with a friend of his, and that they were going to try and build an income from zero and see who got to the most after a certain amount of time. And the results have, certainly surprised me. And I thought it'd be a fantastic thing to bring to this group because, one of the big challenges people face, and one of the biggest kind of arguments I get when I introduce opportunities to people is, oh, I don't have the money to do this. And I understand that, times are really tough at the moment, and people are really suffering out there financially. The cost of living is going through the roof, and it's really hard for people. So I just felt something like this might actually be quite inspirational. People might find it useful, and that it would, it'd be a great subject. So, Paul, lovely to see you. Thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on and talk to us. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, so I would just keep in mind it's the first time I've really ever spoken about this. So if I get a bit off track and excited, it's because I've got lots of things going on in my head, and I just get a bit excited, and I just tend to go for things. So, um, so I guess I've always been interested in obviously earning money. Who isn't? Started off. Really when I was really young, earning money when I at school with numerous jobs through the week, and even at sort of 12, 13 years old, I was earning sort of 70 odd pound a week doing various bits and pieces. So it's always been sort of an interest in me to keep busy and finding ways of earning money. Um, I'm not very good with crypto, as Rich would probably confirm all the questions I've fired at him in the past. But I'm more of a product sort of person, so I'm very confident if I've got a product, then I can make money from it. And some of these sort of challenges that I've done just to prove to myself that you can sort of make money from nothing, and not everything costs something up front. You don't always have to invest something to get something, apart from a bit of time, energy, bit of belief that you can do it. And it's just exciting. So I think the first challenge I did with a friend was when I was working over in Birmingham, and we started with £1. So we was allowed a little investment at that point. um, and from that, I've got a whisky collection now, which is £16,000. And that was probably, trying to think back now, 6 years ago, I would say, when I did that one. Secondly to that, I was just telling Richard before we came into the meeting, I started a business in the garden with my youngest daughter, primarily because she got learning difficulties, and I was trying to create a business for her to come into once she'd left school, because I didn't think she'd really get out and get a job and settle very well. So I wanted to create a business which she could do anything she wanted in, really. And we've been in that for 3 years. And so that started from nothing. And over the 3 years, we've turned over £210,000. Again, I haven't put any money into that. I work full time as well. And that just kind of runs itself, really. Most recently, we're 4 weeks in now. We started another challenge at where I am. And it was off the back of me talking to them about the previous challenge, and they said, well, let's do another one. And as always, I'm up for anything. So I agreed, but I said we got to start from zero this time. And we're 4 weeks in, and I've made £2,000. So that's the crux of it, just making money from nothing, and it's something that anybody can do, really.
So to sort of break that down, so the first time you were talking to me about this with your pound, you went out and bought some ingredients, and that
Yeah,
started there. So
yeah,
break it down for us a little bit how you do this, because it sounds like you've got a bit of a Midas touch going on here. But I know that it's largely down to you spend a bit of time on this and a bit of initiative and a bit of ingenuity. So just break it down as to how you started the first time out with this.
Yeah, so I guess it's because I keep myself busy now, and I like learning new things. So years ago, I decided to learn a new style of cooking every month. It was a New Year's resolution, actually, and I wanted to learn a different style of cooking every month. And I've never baked any bread before, so I started with baking, and I just carried on. I never actually got onto a new month and a new style of cooking, so I ended up teaching myself to be a baker, a self-taught baker, and then I did baking classes for scout groups and cookery groups and that kind of thing. Set up a community bakery in the village, and that sort of. So I was really busy. Like I say, I just go headlong into things, and I don't generally plan. I just get on and do.
Best way, quite often.
Started with £1, and I thought I use a skill that I've got, and I went and bought £1 worth of ingredients from a baker that I know and helped, and I baked 3 loaves of bread and sold them, and then I sold it for like £3 each, and I'd done that a few times. So each time I was just reinvesting the money that I'd earned, and went from there, really. And then I come across, I was sort of fast forwarding a little bit for you. I came across a bottle of whiskey which I'd won in a raffle, and I kind of had an idea that there was expensive whiskies that existed, and drank a few bottles in the past just to think it'd be worth checking out what the value was, and it was worth £100. So somebody had put this whiskey into a raffle without realising the full potential of it. So I sold that. I sold that for full price, reinvested in another bottle of the same whiskey and sold it, and so on. And as the sales were coming in, I was buying more expensive bottles of whiskies, and so your investment goes up, and then your return goes up, and everything sort of speeds up. And then at one point, I was sending bottles of £1,000 bottles of whiskey, like Port Ellen, to buyers in Hong Kong.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I settled on making a little collection, which I just set aside as a bit of a pension for later on as well. And from time to time, I'll go in and have a little look and see if there's any more whiskies worth buying. So that was that one.
So when it came to finding buyers, because this is the trick, isn't it? Is finding the marketplace if you've got something to sell.
Yes.
How were you going about that?
I was just social media, Facebook. There's a product for everyone, and I'm confident. You give me a product, I'll sell it to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the belief that you have. And if it costs you £1, you can sell it for £2. You double your money straight away.
Yeah.
And he doubles then to start earning a decent amount of money, and then making those bigger investments and bigger returns. And you know what? If you lose it, it hasn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Just start again.
And I guess as well, like you were saying, it's kind of an exponential curve, isn't it? As you're, it's almost like compound interest in the sense, in that as you sort of move on, you're dealing with bigger and bigger amounts of money. So the amount you're making increases quite dramatically as well.
Yeah. It's like this current one. I'm just waiting for some money to clear from the sales that I've made on Amazon for the products that I'd gathered in. And I think when we spoke last week, I mentioned about by the end of the year, I wanted a camper van. I don't know why, it's just a target, and it was in my head, and I thought, oh, a camper van, that'd be nice. Could do something with that, because if you've got a camper van, you can rent them out, and it can earn you sort of £8,000 to £10,000 a year.
Yeah.
I know someone in the village that does it, and if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the spirit, isn't it? I mean, I think that's part of it as well. It's having that entrepreneurial bent, but also just thinking, okay, they're doing that. Why can't I do it? There's no reason I can't do it as well. And so this challenge this time round, it's been a little bit different. So how you started from zero. So what did you do to sort of get your first few pounds in the bank?
So I went begging. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit that. I there's a guy that's down the road from me, and he deals with liquidated stock,
Hmm.
from the warehouses, and it's stock that like B&M home stores clear out by the pallet load, and B&Q, Salco, and even discovered that Amazon, when you send product into Amazon, if it hasn't sold after so long, they send you a note that they're going to destroy the stock and get rid of it. They don't. They just sell it by the pallet load to these warehouses.
Is this
Which,
where you, sorry,
yeah,
is
just
this where you see these things on Facebook ads that they're saying they've got Amazon pallets, and I'm always a bit skeptical of those. I must admit, you bought this for 100 quid and it's got X amount of things in it, and I've always wondered
yeah,
if they were a scam, to be honest.
yeah. No. Surprisingly not, because I got offered a 14 pallets of stock, and I was like, oh, it was quite tempting, but I thought, no, I need to stick to the rules. So I did decline. I didn't really have the room for 14 pallets of stock, and there's no room over at the farm either, just at the moment, because of other stuff going. Um, so anyway, I went down to my friend, and he sorted me out with a Swarovski bracelet,
Uh-huh.
and I thought, that's okay, that's good. So I had a little look online, and they retail at brand new £135. And the product that he gave me was brand new, but I discovered that it was liquidated Amazon stock. So somebody had sent that bracelet into Amazon to sell on,
Yeah.
and obviously wasn't getting the sales because he probably wasn't competitive enough on the pricing, and because the wholesale side of Amazon is quite cutthroat,
Yeah.
really. Um, but luckily for me, I had that for free off him, and I knew then by logging into Amazon that on Amazon they were selling for sort of £85. But this first one, I took it back and sold it to a girl at work for £45, so that was okay. um, so then I went back to my friend. I said, okay, I need some more stock. I need another 2 bracelets from you. Repeated that.
Uh-huh.
So actually listed them on Amazon, just not to send into Amazon, but for myself to post out and fulfill.
Yeah.
And it took a little bit of time to get them going. It was probably 3 or 4 days before the first one sold, but then I sold 2 on the same day, and then I thought, oh, right, okay, so I knew I've got the buy box because it
Yeah.
rotates. And as it happened, my friend, he'd got another 16 bracelets, so I had to speak to him, and I paid him what money I'd already earned, and just said, look, I'm going to put them on Amazon, and I pay once I've got the money for him. And that was fine. He didn't have any problem with that. So quite within the rules, if you're wondering. So the bulk of the sales was the bracelets on Amazon.
Yeah.
And again, I knew they'd already been to Amazon, because when you send your stock in, you print off your own barcodes,
That's right. Yeah.
stick them over the existing barcodes. So when Amazon scan them in, they know that that is your product,
Yes.
and it specifically belongs to you. So if there is any damages or recalls, then it is your product, and it's just easier to track for them. And so someone had a go at it, failed, and I took advantage of that. So that was just under £1,700,
Yeah.
and from that, and then I'd sold. It got some glass jars in the van as well,
Hmm.
and I knew there was a lady in our village who was selling house plants, like sedums and that kind of thing, and she was making little terrariums and putting them in the glass jars and selling them on. So I took a photo of those and sent her the image through.
Uh-huh.
And he said I could have them for £1.50.
Yeah.
So I messaged her and said she can have them for £2.50, basically. And she bought 4 of them. So that was another £10 on the first night, really.
Yeah.
um, and that was the bulk of the first lot. But then there was some sort of in-game challenges as well, which are completed on there's a game called Upland, and it's play to earn, basically. And I traded some what they call legits in game, which I sort of learned about the game and learning about NFTs and legits while I was on holiday in August, because I thought, well, I don't really know enough about them to make any money off them, and I wanted to get to know and understand them.
Uh-huh.
So that enabled me then to trade up, and I sold a legit for like $230 just for a picture, basically, in game. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Nuts, yeah. That's why people get wary of NFTs, I think. But yeah,
Yeah. And I did some more the other night as well, and I made another $300 the night before last off the game as well. And that's free to join.
Yeah.
So that's worth looking at some point for people. So it's just to me, it's easy finding a product or any product. Get on social media. You'll generally find the people closest to you will be your first customers. So you can quickly earn your first £10, and if you've got £10 over the next couple of days, you can double that to £20, and just keep doubling your money, and don't let it sit idle. Just find and buy it and just sell it, because somebody will buy it off you.
Well, that's true. And they say, well, one person's sort of junk is another person's treasure, isn't it? It's just there's always someone out there that wants something. I was also just, we were chatting about the business that you set up for your daughter, and just would love to chat about that a little bit as well, because that's just really interesting. As you're saying, literally starting with nothing, pretty much.
Yeah. So it was. It started in the garden, and I think I started talking about earlier on, didn't I, on the group? And this is where I get sidetracked, you see. So
yeah,
pulling me back a little bit, because so yeah, it was for my daughter, because obviously learning difficulties, and I wanted her to have a business to come into. So for some reason, I don't quite know how we got onto plants, really. I think it was just because I could propagate them and create free plants quite quickly off them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think how it came about. Yeah, it was, yeah. And because my brother had some, he took some runners and rooted them through. And he said I could have them, because I wanted to plant some in the garden as well.
Yeah.
But doing that, I saw some advertised on Facebook, and then that got me thinking, because someone was selling for £2.50 for strawberry plants. And then I got these ones for free off my brother, and my daughter seemed interested in doing it at the time, so I put some on Facebook and told them put them out for £1 each. And I thought, wow, it's going to take ages for anybody to want to buy those. And I literally posted them on Facebook before I went to bed, so it was about 10 o'clock, 10:30, and I in the morning, and then I had so many messages. I could have sold them 3 times over.
Wow.
I got rid of the first lot, and I think I'm pretty sure it was about 30 plants.
Yeah.
So I'd made £30, and it was a true £30 because it didn't cost me anything, the product in the first place, and so that was quite good. But there was a local garden centre to us as well.
Yeah.
So next day after we delivered the plants, myself and my daughter, we went up to the garden centre, and they'd got trays of strawberry plants, but really small plug plants. So they were really cheap, and you could get them for like 30p each. It was. So we bought enough with pots and plants and compost, just with the money that we had, really, that from what we'd done. And then we came back, potted them all up in the garden, and advertised again. And I thought, well, I'll advertise at the same time, because that seemed quite successful. sort of 10 o'clock, 10:30,
Yeah.
and the same thing today. And then literally within a few days, we'd made sort of £250 just selling strawberry plants. and then I thought, wow, there's got to be a market here for it, and something's going right. So my wife, one of her best friends, she lives a few miles away. She'd got a garden centre in her back garden that she'd set up herself. And I said to my wife, we'll go and see your friend over the weekend if you want, because you don't get over there that much. And then, but on the way, I stopped off at this other house because a lady was selling a load of fruit plant cuttings that she'd done herself.
Right.
And they're really, really cheap. And I just said to her, so I'll probably come and have everything off you.
Yeah.
And literally we cleared her out of gooseberry bushes, red currants, black currants, and smallest of pots, and they were literally planted into these white cheap plastic drinking cups and old pots and all that sort of thing, And so I bought all of those off the lady, and then we went to a friend's house, and then I spent a bit more money from what we'd earned and bought some fruit trees and some rhubarb as well, I think it was, and then got it all back home and listed it all on Facebook again.
Yeah.
And then created a name for it, so we come up with the Garden Pantry.
Yeah.
With a strawberry as the logo, and then on Fiverr we had some stickers designed, and then we had them made up. So every pot that we sent out, we just put a little sticker on the Garden Pantry, and it just built and built and built. And then I came across a garden centre and fruit farm fairly local to me, sort of 20 minutes away, maybe not even that. And there was an opportunity there for me to take one of their polytunnels. And I thought, yeah, I can do that. We'll do that. And we'll go into the polytunnel with an idea of just stocking it up with fruit plants, and we'll just sell fruit. It seemed quite easy. So we did that, and we didn't have to pay any rent on it for like 6 months because we'd done the deal with the landowner, and ended up spending, I think I got the receipt somewhere, it's about £1,100 on fruit plants and hundreds of strawberry plants, and just filled the polytunnel. And then I was thinking, Christ, not sure really what we're going to do with all of this. But there was a small garden centre on the site, so we'd done a deal with those where I could just sort of hire a table off them and put all the fruit plant stock on there, and people in the end, and I was advertising them. That done really well. And this was all within sort of 4 weeks from literally starting to getting the poly, putting all that stock in and starting to make sales off it. And then literally another 4 weeks passed by, and the lady who was running the garden centre, she wasn't doing very well with it at all. So I sort of offered. I said, well, I'm doing okay. Let's go halves on it, and then get more of an interest in it, which I did do. But then after sort of 8 weeks, we'd taken over the garden centre and all the polytunnels. And then the fruit farm on there was a sort of a separate business, but they were getting on a little bit, and I remember standing at the top of the field on the fruit farm and looking down onto where the garden centre was, and I said to my dad at the time, I said, give it a few months, I said, we'll have all this. I said, we'll just take it up. And literally 6 months later, we took the fruit farm as well.
Wow.
And they're in there for, we've just had a third year.
Yeah.
But as I say, I work full time myself. So that for me is more of a little getaway, and for me it was a hobby, but a little bit mad. But for 3 years it's turned over £210,000. So
can't complain, really. I suspect your daughter loves it. Yeah, your daughter must really enjoy it.
So, because all the pumpkins with the Halloween, and we grow a field of pumpkins, so they come and pick their own. So I know this month we should do about £16,000 turnover, and that's at like margin as well. So it's really, and only when you think back, you kind of forget that you've done it all for nothing, with no investment from your own pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the real thing, because when you've got a product, your profits in and it's within your own hands. It's in your own destiny. You're not relying on other people and the uncertainties of crypto and anything like that. If you've got a product, you'll make money, and it's just as simple as that. You will make money.
Yeah.
It's just finding something to start with and go at, really.
Wow. That's really inspirational, I have to say. I mean, I think out of the things you told me about tonight, I think that the last one, about the garden centre, I think it's just absolutely brilliant. I love that. And the reason for starting it as well, I mean, is she really enjoying that now?
No, she shows no interest at all now.
Typical.
When we was in the garden, but she's 20 now, and she's got other interests now.
Yeah.
She goes and does volunteer work in one of the charity shops and that. Now, wish she could come to the farm and volunteer down there, but
yeah.
No, she's not interested.
Oh, but I mean, what a lovely story. I mean, does anybody here have any questions for Paul at all? Just unmute yourself if you have, or pop it in the chat if you can't. That's absolutely fine. It's all very quiet out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing Paul and I discussed was about setting up a group for people that are interested, probably a Telegram group or something. And Paul sort of said he'd be happy to be in there for a few weeks, so we could actually start our own challenge, and he'd be happy to be in there to sort of help people along. So I don't know if there's any interest in that. Is anybody here tonight interested in maybe doing that? Robin, yeah, I can see your thumbs up. Beth, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I might get my kids involved.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
brilliant.
Anybody that's interested, just pop me a DM. Okay, just message me, and I'll just so I know who's interested. And this will be going out as recording as well, so I'm sure we'll have a few people that will be interested as well after watching the recording. So if you are watching the recording, do send me a message or comment below or something on the video. But yeah,
Richard, can I just ask Paul something?
Of course, yeah, fire away.
Paul, you talked about the liquidated Amazon stock. Is that just somebody you know, or do you know anything about it? How anybody gets involved in that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's quite a close sort of knit community that does it, because everyone wants a stock, so yeah. Want everyone to know about it. But my way in is through a guy I know. But there are companies out there that will do it. I haven't really looked at the companies themselves just yet, because I was just keeping it small and just building it up from what I'd earn. I would imagine that once I carry on and want to earn more and bigger, then I will find a couple of the companies, and they'd be easy enough to find on there. There's one in particular which I've come across, Big Brands Direct,
right?
House in sort of Milton Keynes, but they're on Facebook as well.
Right.
But the best deals by all accounts are to go to the warehouse, have a look in the warehouse, and then generally by all accounts all you get to see is what's on top of the pallets, but they are generally quite good. I actually had an offer come through today of a pallet of stock with 7,000 units in it, but I'm not going for that just yet, because I don't want to put any of my own money into it, and I would have had to really. So,
yeah,
but I earned enough money to warrant doing that just yet on this challenge. So,
right.
But there are proper companies, and you get all the receipts. None of it's dodgy. I've checked all that, because I work full time as a director of builder's merchant that as well. So everything's got to be above board, and so you can. But there are some really, really good deals and pallets that come through. So,
right.
But you don't have to start big, and the beauty about this is you do it in your own time. You can make as much money as you want or as little as you want, spend as much time on it as you want or not. Make £5 sales, £10 sales. Even if I make £1, I'm happy.
Yeah.
It seems like a big part of this as well is kind of self-discipline too, because you're saying that you didn't want to put your own money in, and that's the whole point, isn't it? That you're trying to build it from nothing or from £1 or whatever you decide to start with, and that's no more inward investment from yourself, because it must be quite tempting when you sort of think, well, I could go a bit bigger if I chucked a few more quid in.
You could, you could. I looked because I was looking on vehicles and on Facebook, because I'm always looking on there for deals now. And there was a Volkswagen Transporter. It was in Hereford, and it looked absolutely immaculate. But there must have been something wrong with it. It was up for £3,000, but it looked absolutely amazing. And I thought, I just can't do it because I've only earned £2. And in my head, as this is the way sort of my brain goes up 100 miles an hour, because as soon as you mentioned the challenge, the ideas were coming in straight away. I was thinking, I'm just going to go around gathering up free books. I can do a book bundle, separate the children's books, put a nice bow on there, and just sell the bundles for like a bundle of 10 for sort of £3. And then I can build my kitty up, and then I can go and buy like secondhand baby toys from in around Facebook, charge them off, and put some bundles together as well, and just sell bundles. And then in my head, then once I'd earned sort of £200 or £300, I was going to buy some wholesale baby clothes, and sort of it was going off down that route in my head. And then by Christmas, I was thinking, well, it's either I want to either earn £10,000 and then buy the camper van, and then I can rent that out for sort of next year and earn that £8,000 to £10,000 back again, and keep earning that and building up off it. And that was all within sort of half an hour.
Robin, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. The recording will be up in the group, so that's absolutely fine. And I'll put up details about a Telegram group as well once I sort of get a gauge of the interest. So, like I say, anybody that's interested in joining a group, Paul and I, for a bit to start a challenge, then just let me know by direct message or just comment somewhere, and we'll sort it out. But does anybody else have any questions for Paul? Okay, then we'll wrap it up here. So just to say, Paul, thank you ever so much for your time this evening. This has been really interesting, honestly. It's been really fascinating to hear sort of how you've gone about this. And thank you also for your offer of sort of being in a group, so we can sort of form our own group and get this moving and see how people do. That's really generous.
Really good to, even if there was sort of 5 people interested that wanted to focus some energy on seeing what you can actually earn as a group. And I can sort of jump in on a weekly basis, bit of a check-in and see what they've done. And because sometimes when you're doing that, it's quite hard to be self-disciplined and have a little bit of accountability. So within a group, it's a lot easier. You've got more ideas of what people are doing and how you can go out and earn it. And I promise you, none of this is costing you any money. It's a bit of time. That's all it is. Bit of time, effort, and then you'll just earn money. You will, I promise you.
Well, on that note, we'll leave it for the evening. So thanks again ever so much. Thank you everybody for coming along tonight and listening as well. Really appreciate you all giving up your evenings to be here and listen to us too. And Paul, really grateful to you being here. Thank you so much.
No, that's it.
Take care, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Bye.
Bye.